I said, I'm Marc-Andre. I'm the Ed Automation nerd. My role consists of helping partners just like you guys. I'm not part of sales, nor am I part of support or really anything else. We were put into our own little bucket when we created the team a year and a half ago to really just help you guys out. That's what Jason, myself, and the rest of the team do. That's part of why we started the automation office hours, and the other one that go with it is just to give you guys a forum to come and say, hey, how do I get help? How do I do this? What is the best practice for that? What do you recommend for X? And then we can do our best to help you out. So that is really what our team does. Personally, I've been in the industry for about 20 years now. I've had the chance to create a lot of the automation you see in RMM and in Central. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and continue to use it. You see on the screen my information if you want to reach out to me on any of my social media. I am also joined with Jason today. Jason is our Central automation nerd, but he also helps me a lot with the RMM side since we don't have an RMM nerd just yet. As such, thank you for being here, Jason. Hopefully this is going to be a good webinar and we're going to have a lot of fun together doing this. The Resource Center, if you're new to this is your one-stop shop. I like to bring it up at the beginning just because a lot of people don't know that's where you find mostly anything. This is where you find the cookbook. This is where you find the forums. This is where you find the Institute. The Institute is where we put all the boot camps we do. We put all the training material that we create, the office hours like this. Every recording that we put them on the Institute. This is owned by our very own Aris. He's our director for all the training stuff, and he takes very good care of that section. You can also open your support cases, reach out to the ideas page to request help, things like that. So those are all available forums for you. So why do we do the office hours? When I created the office hours, I think it was over a year and a half almost ago now, we intended them to be initially weekly, and we didn't manage to get enough attendance to justify it, so we moved it to monthly. But they're topical Q&As. So we have one for backup, we have one for operational, sales, and so on. This is the automation or platform specific Q&A. So anything you guys need help with, this is what we're going to be using this forum for. We want to give you guys a chance to engage with industry experts, being Jason, myself, and actually a lot of you guys actually answer questions along the way. So we do appreciate that as well. We do work really hard to foster a community. We want to build a community around the platforms, around what we do. We want to get away from the old school mentality of like, it's mine, I can't share because reasons. So we're working really hard to help build a community, and we're seeing more and more people share the scripts they create, the content they do, share the things that they just rely on, their documentation, their processes, and things like that with the rest of the community, either through Slack, through us, through whatever mechanism that they have. So we're definitely seeing more and more of that sharing, which is a really big goal that we have for the team. Obviously, we want to help you grow your business in a very selfish way. The company wants you to grow. When you grow, you buy more. When you buy more, we make money, and you make money, everybody's happy. So it's a very symbiotic relationship that we have together. So obviously, we want you guys to grow. So we give you tips, tricks, best practices, things like that. And finally, this also is a good forum for us to get feedback. Our first question from Rob is more of a feedback thing, but absolutely, we want to get feedback for the product changes. So this is a good place to do that as well. There's a ton of resources. Most of them I already covered, but the big one for me is the automation cookbook. It actually says 300. I passed over 500 last month, so I'm super happy with that. Between Jason, myself, and the new guy, Charles, we're adding a lot of policies to the cookbook. So you're going to continue to see more and more content get its way there. This is where we put monitoring, scripts, things like that. And they're all available. They're all free. You can just go and grab whatever you need. This is the, honestly, this is the somehow the best kept secret for the company. I don't know why this is not that much more public, but this is really where you should go to get everything you need with regards to automation. You also have the institute training, the office hours, and so on. There's a ton of different things. We already talked about those. That's fine. I do want to very briefly touch on what's new in the cookbook. A lot of people don't really go to check it periodically, and they don't see what we create for the cookbooks. We had a bunch of scripts. I think it's 11 or 12 last month. So we're going to quickly take a few seconds and take a look at what's new. So last month we added a Mac script, so it's a shell script that will allow you to force a custom DNS. We also added a compatibility checker for Windows 11. So if you're looking for this, we took the script that Kelvin, partner of ours, who owns the blog cyberdrain.com, created, and we put it into the cookbook. So you can run this on all your machines as a check, and it will tell you if the machines meet the basic requirements, or it will go failed if they don't. So if you have machines that will not be compliant with it, either because they don't meet the CPU requirement, they don't meet the 64-bit OS. Some people still use Windows 32-bit because they've been upgrading since, and they always kept the 32-bit architecture. Even though the CPU might support 64, they may not have done it. And finally, does it have the proper TPM module that it needs? So this will check all that for you. It's in the cookbook. You can go grab it. Just click on this and download the app. So if you don't know how this works, click on it. And then it's loading. Then you go right here and you see the file. You just click this, you download it, you upload it to RMM, and you're good to go. So that's quite nice. We also added some mitigations for some common new CVEs, monitoring for registry Hive, disabling end user update access that was requested during a webinar I did last month. So we did that. We also enabled password complexity flag, complexity, Windows 7 updating, and so on. There's a bunch of little things, and we keep adding more every month. With the Kaseya vulnerabilities, and people wanted to detect it, so we built that. We built print nightmare mitigation. So print nightmare is one of those things that was resolved, kind of, and then Microsoft seems to still be having issues with it. So the mitigation might be a good solution if you are interested. This is a script that we created to help you guys out with that. So all of those, they're new from last month. I think it was 12 or 16 last month. They're actually quite a bit. And we're going to continue to keep doing that. So if you're interested to grab them, just go in the cookbook, grab it, and that's easy. So Jason, if you want to put the link in the chat, that might be easier for everybody. And with that, we'll jump in finally and go through what you guys want to see, the questions and things like that. So I only have a couple questions right now. Please make sure you put your questions in the questions pane. We do want to be able to run the full hour. Otherwise, we can adjourn early, but I'd much rather take your time and show you guys some of the things that we can do with automation in the platform. So first question I have is, Mark, is there any way to monitor if a user logs on or logs out after hours? Well, logs on, I guess is what you meant. So yeah, so in Windows, you can track logging through event logs. You could use the native event log monitoring, but it won't give you the time of day component. So if I go into one of the sites and then I pick a device, doesn't matter which one, and then I say add a check 24/7 and I pick event log, I could just say monitor a specific event and the information I want, but this check will not have the option to say do it for only specific hours of the day and things like that. So we're going to cancel out and we're going to into the cookbook because that was added here fairly recently. And I'm going to say hold on, it's called user login check, something like that. Yeah. And that is the version for RM and Central. We're on RMM, so we're going to take the RMM version. And I am going to click on this. Basically, this will give me an automation policy. I'm going to open up Automation Manager. I have it on my other screen. So I'm going to open that up, open policy. Give it a second. And log on time check. There you go. So this automation policy, very simply, will run through and we'll get the last log on time. Now in this case, we could have used the event log objects, but there's some restrictions on some of the filtering and the way it works. It was easier to do it through a script, so that was done that way. I believe Jason actually did that one, if I'm not mistaken. So this will give you, or Jason or Louis, I can't remember. So this will give you basically, look into the last 2 days and see if anybody during the last 2 days logged on outside of those hours. And the way that we decide which hours are good or bad is through input. So when you run the policy, it's going to say our business hours are from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. If anybody logs on outside of those, you need to get an alarm. So if somebody tries to log into their machine at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock, you could actually get an alert. This is useful in secure environments, sometimes in banks, things like that, where the computer should not be logged on outside of hours for security reason. This will give you that visibility. So this is a this is something that you have definitely a good option to do. So yeah, good question, very easy. And then obviously if you do, if you are over that, if you log in outside of those hours, it will basically just give you a fail, which will make that check. So if I was into RMM, this would make it go red, and I would be aware that there's a problem. Now this is a new device, it's obviously very clean, but this would give you that information. All right. So next question I have from Mark, let's see. It's a bit of a long one, so let me read through it. Since the last boot up time column in the RMM dashboard can take a little while to update, you're right, and it doesn't include whether the workstation was last shut down or restarted, I'd like to create a script to check the following, based on the following Windows command. It parses the output and returns the data from the day shutdown lines and so on. Can that be done with the dashboard? Okay, so let me try to copy this. This is gonna let me. It's not letting me, so I'm gonna have to type it. That's okay. What we're gonna do is I'm just gonna open up a command line and take a look at what the command does. Give me a sec here. There we go. So the command that you're referring to is WEVT, the Windows event util. Do I have that on my machine? Yeah. Oh, WEV util. WEVT util. Yeah, there it is. Okay, good. Slash q like this, and then start system. It's unfortunate I have to actually type it because it doesn't let me copy paste from the question. Event ID equal 1074, and then close. Sorry, I'm looking really closely because it's a very small font for some reason. And then slash RD true, and then slash F text, and then slash C1. That should do it. Nope, I made a typo somewhere. Slash Q star system event ID this and that 2 square, yeah, that's the one. And then slash RD through slash F text and slash C1. Yeah, that looks right, but I'm obviously, oh, I forgot something at the beginning. That's on me. Yeah, that's on me. So QE system. So all right, there you go. So this is finding the event. Okay, so what you're doing is getting the event log, very similar to what we did in ours, in our version here. So we should be able to modify the one that we already have instead of trying to capture this. Basically, this one will capture if somebody logged in into the machine at a specific time, but we just need to modify this to fit your needs. So from what I understand, Mark, you're trying to just specifically say, look at the last date and the shutdown type and output that into a check. So if I was to get this command, this one is getting the event ID 4624. We need to change that. You're using event ID 1074, which is your shutdown command, and then get the information. Now, I do agree that there'd be a bit of a delay when you restart. So what a lot of people do, first of all, is they'll use into the cookbook, there's a script called Reboot, I think, Reboot time or something like that. So I think all we need to do is take that script and then add a reboot type or uptime or reboot time. What did I call it? With no uptime check, that's the one. So this one will check if the machine was rebooted in the last amount of time. This one I can actually have a pop up as well. We can clean that up. But it seems like that would do what you need. So Mark, what we need to do, we should take that policy, we should add it to it. So if I go and copy paste this, because I'm going to be a little lazy here, and say no, and then get the uptime check, just like that. And yeah, so that one is getting the last boot up time, which is easy. And then what I believe you're referring to is going to be here. So when I say get this, and then in this case we'll go 10 days because if it didn't reboot in the last 10 days, get date. Yeah, so it's fine. And then get when event. In this case, we just care about system. Event ID would be 1074 is what you're looking at. Then look at the start date, and then the rest of it, we'll see, pick the most recent one. We want to remove the where clause because we don't care. And then if blah, 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 we don't care. Okay, so I think this should work. This is getting us that status FL. Let's see if I made a tremendous amount of typos or if we're good, and that'll be interesting. So what we're trying to do is two things. We're trying to get here the last boot time, and yeah, I did make a typo, but we can fix that. And the idea here is that based on your example, Mark, oh, it's that one. It doesn't like that. Okay. Based on your example, we should be able to hopefully get the last time the user logged in and then what kind of reboot it was. In this case, it doesn't find anything. That's not ideal. All right. So what do we need to do? Oh, I did not reboot in, yeah, a while. Okay, so what we need to do is take this. Now the status, the cool part about it is that when you take the status this way, it will actually have, yeah, downgrade is there. So it did reboot on the 30th. So all we need to do is take this and then status dot, something like this, I guess. But yeah, it's not giving that much, to be honest. So anyways, I think this is the gist of it. I just need to finish it and polish it a little bit. Mark, what I'm going to do is I don't want to spend the rest of the hour on that one question just for the interest of everybody else on this. But if you can reach out to me, I'll put my email in the chat for you in the question answer. Marc-Andre Tanguay at enable.oops.com, like that. And if you send me an email, I'll finish that for you. It should be pretty easy. And we'll put that in the cookbook for everybody. That's actually a very good one to have. This is basically looking at the last reboot type, and it's going to outboot whenever the last machine was booted and what your last reboot type was. That would be very useful to get indeed. So thank you for that question. Hopefully it didn't go down the rabbit hole too much, but that's good. All right. Next question is from Graham. He says, I have written a nice check that checks the age of a Hyper-V snapshot and flags if it has been more than 30 days. As in our MSP world, anything of that age or older means it's likely a backup failure that has caused it, and we don't want this filling up. That's right. It works well. However, the output of the dashboard is a bit ugly. Is there any way to customize the output to say overdue date found and something like that? Sadly, no. I have been asking for this, and I know what you're referring to. The output here, it basically says more information, or if I have a script check like here, it just goes, let's take this guy here, boop, 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 like this. It's just very ugly. It's not super usable. There's no magical way yet for this. I have asked them to give me an output field so I can put whatever we want here. But at the moment, there's no magical way to do it. What I've been training people to do is to use the output at the bottom for this, so that whenever you have a script error or you have an error, you can click on it and train your user to scroll down and go at the bottom and read it. What it would look like is if I take this example here, and I get my event time, let's say out event time, something like this, and I come here and I'm gonna say out event time equal event time, for example. Yeah, doesn't matter. And then I would do the outputs here. So I would do, first of all, I would say out last boot, last time the machine was fully restarted. And then I would say get the last boot time like this. No, I don't need the semicolon, but whatever. And then I would put the other one, which would be, in my case, I would like to say out reboot type. Now it's not the right thing, but it doesn't matter. Reboot type. I keep putting the colon, but I don't want to. And then I would just put whatever field I want. And when you run this, what it would do, yeah, whatever. It's gonna show the whole output like before, no problem. But at least at the bottom, you would have some fully readable output. So in your case, you could use the output to say, okay, how old is the last snapshot? It's this many days. Number of snapshots found is this many, and so on and so on. What I tend to, when I do the boot camps, if you've ever been to one, I tend to try to show people as many options as I can, as far as add 3, 4, 5, 10 different outputs so that you have as much as you can. When was it last run? What did you do? What did you get? What did you look for? And so on and so on. Even what is your threshold? So you could say here, as an output, hard code, maximum allowed snapshot age, and put 30 days, so that whenever the user sees the output, he scrolls down in the dashboard. So you go here, you would scroll down and you would see at the bottom here output, and it would go, oh, we only allow 30 days. It's been 45 days. This is a snapshot. This is the VM. This is the host. Okay, cool. Then you can go and fix it. So far, that's been my only solution. I know it's not ideal. Don't hold that against me. I'm working really hard with the PM team for them to give me that functionality, because I've been needing it for a long time to build some of the automation I want, because I'd like to be able to output specific fields to that line. But at the moment, there's no magical way for me to do it. The system basically interprets a pass fail and just outputs the text. There's no way otherwise to do it for me. So I'm kind of limited by that platform as far as that is concerned. And then Central, you have that flexibility. I know you guys hate when I keep saying that during different webinars, but on the N-Central side, you do have that flexibility. The platform obviously has different functionality, different features, and that is one of them that's definitely there. But yeah, so okay, good. So yeah, the output method is definitely the only way. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate the feedback. But yeah, it's what I recommend. It's the only way I can find around that. All right, that was easy. Guys, we're almost out of questions again, so please make sure you guys say what you're looking for. I'll gladly help from there. And yeah, thank you. Good. Just checking this. Next one. All right, Mark, I hope you're doing well. We recently changed all of our patching to schedule to weekly, but we're not forcing them to reboot. And some users we see logged on for over 50 days. How do you suggest we deal with that? Oh, it's kind of in line with the same question we had about the reboot time. What I often do personally, first of all, my best practice, if I was to recommend this to anybody, I worked for an MSP for a while. Jason has too. My recommendation typically is if a Windows desktop, obviously not a servers that'd be silly, but if a desktop has been up for more than 5 to 10 days, even 5 days really, if it's been up with more than 5 days without being rebooted, you should force a reboot on that machine. No questions, no if, buts, and ands. It should happen. So what I've been suggesting to people to help with patching, to help with a variety of different things that they need to do, whether it's maintenance, updates, whatever, is to actually use the uptime monitoring. This uptime check has the ability to go failed when the machine is over X amount of hours or days. Now, in this case, it would be days, obviously. So if it's up for more than 5 days, for example, this would warn you and you would know about it. Once you get that information, that warning and so on, you would have the ability to have it do a self-healing. Now, if you're not familiar with that, when you do a task in RMM, I can say add a task. Let's see, pick whatever task, doesn't matter in this case. You can say run this task automatically, which in this case you would not want to reboot every day, so that's not a good idea. But you could say uncheck failure, and you could pick your uptime check if you have it set up. So whenever that uptime check goes failed, do a pop-up and go like, hey, Mr. Customer, you need to reboot. And that would give you that option to warn the end user that you need to do a reboot and so on. That would be definitely what I would recommend. Now, if we look at that policy, did I download it already? Nope, I did not. We do have different reboot prompts. One actually, if we look in the cookbook, those are very, very common things that people ask. So we often have things pre-built, which is super nice. Reboot. So like force reboot every 14 days. So that one is an example of that. And this one. So system reboot. So there's different versions, different iterations that we've made over time. So I'm going to use this one as an example. What this one does is it checks when was the machine last booted, like a full boot. This is important too. That is a distinction that a lot of people don't necessarily know. This is looking for the actual boot time of the computer. This is not looking for the last time it was turned up from sleep, the last time you did a fast start and it did not do a full reboot. This is the last time the machine fully rebooted. So it says when was the last time rebooted in days. Is it more than 3, 5, 10, 14 days, whatever you choose. If the user is logged in, it then as a pop-up is like, hey, you need to reboot. Can you do that? You can also use the newer input prompt that has a little pop-up with the brandable options and stuff. On the other side, if he's not logged in, then who cares? And then reboot, right? Because that's also an option that's important. If the user is not even logged in, and if he is logged in but locked, I believe it will show logged in true, if I'm not mistaken, because there is somebody logged in. So that is a very important distinction. In this case, I'll say like, oh, nobody's logged in. Well, then too bad. And then this would restart the machine. So this would give you the ability to control when that machine gets rebooted based on that need that you may have. So that is definitely a good option if you want to control reboot. This is always a hot issue every time when I go to events. I'm going to Texas in a week and a half. That is one of my examples because it always comes up on the automation front. People have issues with machines not being stable, support tickets, and so on. Jason and I were talking this morning about an issue we have with an internal system, and then when you reboot, it magically works. So it's always good to reboot periodically to fix those weird little, like call them little gremlins in the computer. So it's always just a good practice to do. If you don't do it already, you don't force your users to reboot periodically, that would definitely be something I would recommend. Or even having the uptime check to like set to like 5 days and don't even enforce it. Just have it as a failed check. When the user calls for support, you would have a big red flag that said like, oh, you did not reboot it X amount of time, you need to reboot. You're like, no, I just rebooted. You say, no, this checks every 5 minutes. I know it didn't reboot. And then you can right click and reboot them and go like, too bad, and then just do it. You would save yourself a lot of time and a lot of argument with your end customer. So that is something to keep in mind. All right, next question. Can I start a chat with a client without doing remote control? For example, can I jump on your computer to check something? And then how can you remotely access a potential client? Remote support for non-client, things like that. Okay. So your question is multi-part, Rob. We'll start with the first part. So first part, if you want to get on the machine without getting on the machine, so for example, if I take this guy and I want to get in, you can do remote background. That will give you a shell into the machine. So that is something that will give you a way to get into the machine to run commands. It's not what you asked, I know, but that's one way. Now, take control will go onto the desktop and do whatever. Now, you have the option either in settings or by device, and I'm going to show you by settings. So you take control and setting. Actually, policy is the way we do it now. You choose your policy. You have the option to say request permission and have a pop-up to show. Honestly, this is something in the optimization bootcamp for RMM that we really recommend you turn on. Everybody should at least have a pop-up that's like, hey, I need to do a jump on computer or as requested, blah, 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 whatever. This is a standardized prompt you can put on all the machines, and you can say, show it for like 20, 30, 40 seconds and a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, and say, if he does not answer, do you want to allow it or not allow it, right? Like whatever option makes sense. And then when you're done, lock the machine back up so that if the guy says like, oh, just use my computer, I'm going to go for lunch, you don't panic, right? You just say like, click, lock it up. When we're done, it'll lock up the session, and then the guy can come back and log back in. So this would typically be what I would recommend. Now, doing a custom chat every time, there's no option yet to do this. You could remote connect to it and then send him a chat from take control, but obviously that's not what you're asking for. So Rob, what I would definitely do is configure that prompt first. Everyone, in my opinion, should be using this, or maybe not everyone, but the majority of people should. This will give you, we talk about, what's the word we use? Transparency into the services, right? You don't want to have the customer call you panicking like someone's hacking my computer when they don't understand that it's you that's on it, right? When having that pop up like, hey, we need to do this, is it okay? They get a pop up, they know what's happening, and then they go like, oh, okay, cool, click yes, or saying, no, I don't have time right now, screw you, no, and then you have the option. So that is definitely something you can do. Now, second part of your question, if you want to connect to a potential client, the only real option I can give you is there's a product that we sell called Take Control Plus. So like we're talking about TeamViewer or things like that, or if you want to use Zoom or something else, those are the options that you can use. But as far as RMM, we have something called Take Control Plus. It is a standalone remote control tool. So the customer calls you, says, I need help right now. I'm not a customer of yours, but I need help. You just say, go to whatever it's called, startcontrol.com. I don't remember the site. And then you put in a key. It will log into your app. You say connect, and then boom, you're connected to them. So for customers that are not in RMM yet, that's a very good way to connect to them as well. So that is something that I would recommend. Finally, your last question, you say that patches for Zoom regularly fail. Actually, with the group we have, is anybody else having issues specifically with Zoom? I'm not aware of any issue. I have not seen, I try to keep my eye on support cases and issues that come in, try to keep my finger on the pulse. Not heard anything dramatically increasing as far as volume, but if you guys are having issues and someone else is having the same issue, it seems, okay, good to know. Yeah, actually, a few people are saying the same thing. Good to know. I'm going to reach out to the PM and the dev team for that and see what we can do. Guys, send me an email, and I'll try to see what I can do. But if you're having issue with a specific app, I'm hoping you guys did support cases. Because if a specific app fails, it could be that they changed the behavior of said app. Oops, I went the wrong place. They may have changed the behavior of said app, which is causing the issue. So if you're having an issue when you come here and you say, oops, no, right click, you say you pick this app and you say approve and so on, and it doesn't work, then definitely there's something wrong with the app updating. So just make sure that I'm hoping you have a support case. So if you reach out to me, I'm going to ask you if you have a support case. I'll go take a look at it. But yeah, this is not normal behavior. If a few of you are having it, there might have been something changed for sure. So Rob, I can't give you a very good answer just yet, but absolutely we should. And okay, yeah, if you don't have a support case, I would say open one. It doesn't cost anything. I mean, you already pay for support as part of your thing, so who cares? Open a support case like, hey, I'm having an issue. Here's a few sample devices. Blah blah blah. What do I do? And they'll capture log. They'll let you know what they can do, and hopefully we kind of go from there. But that's definitely step one for me in that kind of fashion. So that's good. All right, next question. I have a policy that I've been working on. Yeah, we've been working on an input. I have a client that has users with map drives on an old server and has been deprecated and is offline. Trying to write a policy check for any map drive that contains a specific string in the UNC path, disconnect them if you find. I keep getting a WMI error that the path does not exist. Yeah, actually, couple reasons that you may be getting that is, first of all, when you run automation in RMM, it runs as local system, not the end user. So by running it as the local system, you would not see the map drives for that end user. So the policy likely will not work properly. So that's first of all something that you need to keep in mind. Second of all, if you're getting a very specific WMI error, I would have to take a look at it. If you want to send me a copy of your AMP, Dwayne, I would be happy to take a look. Not sure I'll be able to do very much, like I said, because I believe you won't be able to do it because of the user account thing. But if you found a way around it, I would be more than happy to take a look at it, because I know it's something that it comes up all the time. Yesterday on the central office hours, we had someone asking us similarly to move from DFS shares to OneDrive mapping for all of his file syncs. So similar to what you're asking for. So although yours is using it slightly differently. So absolutely, if you have an option for that and you started working on it, just send me a copy of it by email, whatever you guys want to send me. And I see Jason put my email in the chat, so thank you for that. So reach out to me and I'll see what I can do. No promises I'll be done today. Obviously, I'm incredibly swamped with emails. I'm also on vacation next week, but I'll do my very best to take a quick look at least, or maybe I'll direct it to someone else for help. But yeah, thank you, Dwayne, for that question. The next one I have, how do I do a Windows 11 check? Oh, actually, we showed at the beginning. I'm guessing you might have showed late. That's easy. And oh, you said you sent me a copy. Thank you. Maybe you missed it at the beginning. That's okay. I actually showed it in the What's New section. So one thing that we did working with our partners, that more and more partners are sharing stuff, which is super fun. I always say sharing is caring. This example here, now you're gonna see I'm gonna fail because my machine is not compatible. So I'm complaining right now to get a new one, but my machine is not compatible with Windows 11 because it's a MacBook and Mac doesn't want to support a TPM 2.0. Even though the CPU could do it, it doesn't. So in this case, for example, it's telling me that my TPM is not compatible, my CPU is compatible, and my OS is compatible. However, I'm missing the TPM. In this case, because this is the RMM version, when you download the policy in the cookbook, by the way, always make sure there's two versions of it. Take the RMM, not the Central version, because this will give you what you're looking for. The RMM version in this case has a little difference here, which says if it's not supported, fail, or if the OS is not supported, fail, or if the OS 64-bit is not the right one, then fail. And it would still do the output. Like I said, I always like doing the output, whether you do it on a central RMM, whatever the purpose is, because at least as an output, you see which one is missing. And the reason that this is so important to me is that you can see here, this is a, about a page of text. I don't want to have to read through this to figure out what's happening. I just go to the bottom and like, boom, is it okay? No, it's not. Perfect. I got a failed state. I can go take a look and boom. And this is something that you guys should definitely be putting on. I don't expect every customer is going to want to go to Windows 11 this fall, but I'm expecting that some of them will. You get the early adopters. It's always good to at least be prepared and tell your customers, hey, just so you know, I'm being proactive. I'm here for you. These 50 machines will not be compatible with Windows 11. You may want to budget for next year to buy new ones, right? And that gives you the information that you need. And also, it's just a good practice to do. It doesn't cost you anything, really. We built it. It's just a matter of uploading it to all your devices as a check and then using it. Now, if you want to see how we upload it to a check, let me know. I'll show you, but it's super easy. And I think I'm all out of questions. Looking to my little question painting. We're all out of questions at this point. We have still 20 minutes to go. I would love to keep going, guys. If you have questions for me, please let me know. I'm gonna stick around a little bit and we'll see. And yeah, like Dwayne says, the customers will ask even if they don't plan to upgrade. That's a very common thing. So when new OS comes out, when new versions of applications, special things come out, they don't want to upgrade right away, but they'll ask you, am I ready for this? And a very easy way is if you add the check to all your devices, when you go to the dashboard and go to the active issues, you could come here and just say, okay, for that customer, show me all these checks, and boom, okay, here's all the devices that don't match, here's the device names. Okay, good, because I can search for a specific check. I'll see all of them. Okay, good. Take that list, give that to my customer. These 8 machines are not compatible with it. This, just so you know. And then you could remove the check if you choose to do so, or you could leave it alone, whatever you prefer. Personally, I would leave it, but it's up to you. And that would give you that. So yeah, Dwayne, to your point, yeah, people will always ask even if they don't know. All right. Next question: how do you automate notifying for infected workstation in EDR for a site? So I'm going to assume, Dimitri, and I'm hoping I'm saying your name right because there's a couple letters I'm not sure the way they are. But it is something. I'm assuming you're using the EDR standalone, not the integrated. If you use the built-in EDR platform, where's the button for that? Manage AV. If you're using the built-in EDR versus the standalone one, the built-in one will alert you. You don't have anything to do. If you're using the standalone, what you need to do, hey, we're going back to the cookbook again. Sorry, that's where we find everything. I come here, I say EDR, and there it is, Sentinel 1 monitoring. This monitoring works for both N-Central and RMM. It will check if the environment has everything it needs, and if it's running properly, and if there's any intrusion or recent attacks. So let me just export that AMP file so I can show you which one is. Why is there 2? I'm confused. Like this. Okay. So if I go back to here and I open it up for you, there it is. There it is. So when I run, I already have it on my machine. There you go. And basically in this case, it's telling me that everything's okay because I have it on my machine, but it's up to date. So it says here it's normal, it's normal, it's normal. Quarantine threat is fine, and then no threat present. So this is what you'd be looking for. And if there's any status or having issues, this would be warning you, and you would get an alert through your RMM, unless I made a mistake somewhere, but I believe it's there. Yeah, the agent status and everything like that. Yeah, it should be fine. So yeah, this is definitely what you should be using. This monitors your EDR end to end. So take advantage of it, use it, deploy it. I'm kind of worried. I'm looking and I'm not seeing the threat present. I'm only seeing these 3. So maybe when that was updated, someone made a mistake and did not add this. And if that's the case, I'll update it today. But it should be there. So yeah, that's that. Last question I have right now is from Dwayne. Is it possible to run a PowerShell script in Automation Manager under a specific account? At the moment, no. There's no way in RMM to specify a specific account when you run it. I have been asking for 2 things in RMM as far as automation. Those are my 2 basic things I need, and no questions. When you run a task, for it to run immediately. That's one. That's one that I use all the time, no questions. The other one that I use a lot is actually sorry, that I've been asking for. The other one I've been asking for is running as someone else. So running real time and running as someone else are the two big things that I've been asking for because I need them. I've seen people do some weird impersonation things into the execution, do run as different things like that. But I've seen mixed results. Personally, I would not advise it. So I would not go that route. But that is more or less the only way I can think of. So yes, I'm sorry, I don't have good answers for some of your questions, guys. It's just I'd rather be honest and give you the truth than just kind of BS you and give you something so you're on your way. So that is the answer for that. Next one. Is there any custom filter like Reboot required that techs like to use? I'm not personally aware of one. I know a lot of people are using. Yeah, Kitty, I know. A lot of people use under the active issues. They'll add that custom service I showed about uptime, and will use that so that they know that machines need to be rebooted. I'm not personally aware of any Reboot required custom filter that you can do. Guys, if you guys have one, have a suggestions for Rob, please put in the questions pane. I'd love to see what you guys have for me on that, but I personally do not have a solution for that as far as how can you do a custom filter just for this. But no, I'm sorry, Kitty just decided it's time to get pet. But yeah, so I don't have the answer, but hopefully Rob, somebody has an answer for you other than the uptime or the Reboot required monitoring. So we'll see. Dwayne has one more question. He says, what is the best way to write out to a common log file for output of all devices when they run a policy? Honestly, what I've been doing for that is, hold on, Kitty, come back later. All right, so when I'm here, what I typically will do is I'll use the out file or output file. There it is, output file like that, and just say append, and I would say, automation policy ran on X date, blah, 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 whatever. Now, if you want to customize that, which you probably would, you would say format string like that. So you would format, the date with this, because then with these, you can insert two different data points. One could be get date like that. And I could say, okay, get today's date. And then the other one here would be, okay, so policy ran on, then it shows a date. And then I could say, okay, and then the policy is about Sentinel 1 something something, whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter. And then this would basically output itself by coming here, saying formatted string, and then save that to c/temp/logfile.txt, something like that. So basically, I would get the date, format it like policy ran on this date, and then blah, 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 whatever else I want to put in this, and that would output one line every time the policy runs. Now, if you want to monitor your policy execution, sorry, I'm getting cat hair in my face. If you want to monitor the output of a policy or policy being ran, that's one way to do it. And then you can use these inputs to link to a variety of different output points to just say, okay, here's what the output was or whatever I need to do. And then this will allow you to come back to that log file and select, oh, that policy runs once a week or runs once a day, or, oh, it didn't run for a week because something was wrong or it was disabled, whatever. And you can use the same log file and just choose append, and they'll just append each other, and they'll just add lines for different policies. I've had quite a few partners do this just for the flexibility it offers and the visibility. Now, if you don't like it, obviously you don't need to use this, but I personally like that quite a bit. So that would be there. And if you want to correlate multiple files into one text, I don't have an object for that, but I know PowerShell scripts that exist that will just take multiple files and output them into one. But I have not had the need to create an object for that, although I'll take a note. That could be a good object for later. Merge text files. Yeah, good idea for an object, Jason, but I don't have one yet made for that just yet. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.